Okay, so I don't want to get too heavy into this until that guild mission does get done so everybody can focus, but this is a preliminary question here to you guys. Does anybody have any experience with variety of personality types? Like, what does that mean to you? It's not like we have to go through and hear from everybody, but has anybody done any kind of studying in this stuff? Because it was totally new to me whenever I first encountered it.
I just, like I said in the stream, I just know about kind of like the Myers-Briggs stuff.
I work with a lot of personalities. That's all I can say.
I know a little bit about like A-type personalities, B-type personalities, and then there's various different personality categorizing tools. I remember actually applying for several jobs where they made you take a personality test, and depending on the results, they would hire you or not hire you based on it.
That's pretty interesting, and that makes a lot of sense. Whenever I ended up being a team leader for my company, they had me take a personality test and then also a love receive / like affection test, which is kind of interesting. And I've never even heard of that, right? But basically, you can see how others kind of receive affection, like what it means to them. Sometimes if you're receiving a gift, that's like the best thing that a person could just get. If they get a gift from someone else, it just changes everything. For other people, it's quality time. For some people, it's words of affirmation. If you're praised, in front of others or something, that just lights you up and really encourages you. So that was a second test that I had to take. The first one was a personality test, which is kind of interesting. And mine ended up being quality time and like words of praise, I guess is how I receive affection or something. So then right after that, the president of the company told me what a great job I've been doing, and then we actually went out for some quality time and we went to a shooting range, just him and me. It's pretty funny. Yeah. So he found out all of his managers, what means a lot to them, and then he just dialed right in on it. I'm sure people like gifts. I'm sure you would have had I don't know, a watch or something for him. It's kind of interesting.
So you're sort of talking about emotional currency, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But that was a separate test. The personality thing was the thing I was actually interested in. All right, so it looks like the guild mission is done. So good stuff. Let's get right into this. Before I just kind of start monologuing here, anybody want to talk about anything, ask any questions, share anything? I don't want to completely dominate the floor here without giving you guys a chance to talk, because this is really guild bonding and kind of a powwow session here.
I love you, Blade.
Thanks, buddy.
I love you, man.
Okay, and with that out of the way, I'll begin. All right, so I'm sure everybody at this point knows I've been in sales for a really long time. And in my first year in sales, I think maybe even in the very beginning of sales, the president of the company, before he later promoted me and then had his quality time with me and all that stuff, went up to me and said, one day, I'm going to teach you about the variety of personality types. And within 30 seconds, you will be able to identify the type of personality that the person you're talking to has. And what this will do is at least drop the walls so that you can have an honest communication on the level at which they receive it. And I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty crazy. That's really impressive. And what happened was he introduced me to a course called the 15 Master Strategies of Super Achievers. And he lent me these DVDs and these CDs, basically. So I got to learn them from the CDs. He, just kind of hyped them up for me. And these 15 Master Strategies of Super Achievers go over a whole bunch of interesting things. They were created, the program's made by a guy named Stephen Scott. Stephen Scott wrote the book, best-selling author, The Richest Man Who Ever Lived, documenting a lot of Solomon's life, and has an interesting backstory himself where he actually failed out of 9 jobs in 6 years. Just he either got fired from those jobs or he had a knack for quitting right before he was going to get fired. And because of his personality type and because of his employers not understanding his personality type and what keeps him interested, he was filled with this creativity and this drive, but he just got bored and his employers weren't intelligent enough, and it just didn't really work out for him. So Stephen Scott, the author of this program, ends up going to Gary Smalley, who is a motivational speaker. He was a mentor in Stephen Scott's life. And what Gary Smalley suggested was that he reads believe it or not, the book of Proverbs, 1 chapter every day for the next 2 years. Which, you know, whatever you think about religion or the Bible, it doesn't really matter. He ended up doing this. And what he learned from doing this ended up jumping him from below the poverty line to a multi-million-dollar paycheck within 2 years. And it changed his life completely. He ended up building businesses, fitness companies, marketing companies, became a best-selling author, and really dialed in on a lot of very interesting techniques. He really didn't do well in school, didn't like it, though he did go to high school with Steven Spielberg. When they met up later, they realized that even though they didn't learn any of these strategies in school, both Steven Spielberg and Steven Scott utilized about these 15 strategies to achieve amazing results. And so that's where I learned it. I learned it in this program, which, you know, I recommend. You can probably find the thing for $100 or something. And the personality types is one of the 15. Okay, so here we go. Personality types. Now, there's a lot of different personality tests out there. There's a lot of different ways to categorize it. I love the way Steven Scott does it. So he says there are 4 personality types, and he labels them after animals. So here they are, if you guys want to jot them down for your notes. I pause as everybody reaches for a piece of paper. Anyway, you don't have to take notes. It's fine. So these personality types are the lion personality type, the beaver personality, the otter, and the golden retriever. And these are the 4 names of the personality types. They have, you know, similar traits, I guess, to the animals, but not specifically. They're just kind of a general way to go. Now, the way personality types work is that you're born with them. So you're born with your natural inclinations towards one thing or away from another. And what's really interesting is whenever you understand these, your tolerance for other people goes way up. It shoots through the roof. Because now you understand that there's a totally different way that each personality type thinks. And it is crazy when we get into it. It's very bizarre. Everybody has a dominant and a subdominant personality. Okay, so you're going to be real high in one of them and real, kind of high or mediocre high in another one. And then usually 2 are pretty low. About 10% of the population is kind of like a flat line, right? They don't have any real super high aspects in any of these 4 categories, and not really any super low categories here. Let's see. There would be, I can't think of them right now, but there was an interviewer who was like a really even keel, and that's great because, you know, you don't have any maybe driving strengths, but you don't have any crippling weaknesses either. And he was able to relate to everybody that just came on stage. I wish I could think of his name right now. Everybody just felt really comfortable talking to this guy because he could immediately just connect with you. And so, you know, if you're a flatline personality, that's not a problem. You should know 2 things about this. Number 1 is everybody, once they understand what the personality type is, thinks it's the best. It's just kind of innate in how we live. It's like we really kind of spell it out, understand how our thinking is. Well, that's our thinking. It's been like this since we were born, basically. And we feel like this is the right way. This is the best way to be. And that's wrong, right? There is no best personality type. None is better than another, okay? But once you can identify yourself, you're very much going to think other people should think kind of like you. And it's just a very natural tendency for us all to have. Blade should be recording this. Good news, I am. I am, in fact. And it's not going to go anywhere crazy, but it is going to be posted so our other guildies can learn from this. So, you know, I've had a lot of business experience, and one of the things that I would like to do as your guild leader is teach you guys what I can. So, yeah, we're going to have this recorded for, you know, posterity there. All right, so of the 4 personality types, each personality type has a set of strengths and has a set of weaknesses. All right, so each one, a bunch of strengths, a bunch of weaknesses that combine. And interestingly enough, depending on how your dominant and subdominant personality types overlap each other, you either have like a crazy supercharged weakness, or you basically have a way to compensate for your other main personality types' weaknesses, which it's really fascinating. So we're going to dive directly into this, and then we'll go into some more examples and obviously questions. All right, so let's start off with the lion personality. So the lion is a take charge personality type. Basically, whenever somebody needs to find a leader in a group of people, this is the person that steps right up, says, all right, we're going to do it. This is the way it's going to be done. Let's get to it. Let's go. This person loves authority, loves being in charge, loves leading, is extremely comfortable in front of groups and, you know, getting their vision out in front of other people. It's their passion, and it's very, very important to them. So they love having authority. There are other strengths. They are very good one-way communicators. So they can give a lecture, they can give a talk, they can give a presentation, stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily mean they're always the most confident individuals, but they're good at communicating what is important to them. You know, even if it's behind a computer screen and just typing it up. So these are just natural leaders in a sense. Now, you can develop leadership. In fact, most of leadership is trained, is developed, but the lion personality type has a tendency to want to be in these situations and feel very comfortable in these situations. Has a lot of downsides, you know, to this personality type. This personality type often looks at projects more important than people, right? Because they want to get something done, and there's a bunch of people that are standing in the way or bothered by it, and they often steamroll over the other more gentle types of personalities. And something important to know about lions is that lions are not being mean when they're doing this, when they're absolutely like commanding, this needs to be done, you did this wrong, stop doing that, come on over here, do this. The lion isn't at all upset by that. They want it done a certain way. They want it to get done. As soon as it's done, everything is crystal clear. You're just as good as you've ever been with this lion. No problem. Other personality types, when they receive harsh, direct criticism, man, they just think, oh man, you know, how could this person talk to me like this? I'm their friend, and they hold on to it. A lion doesn't even realize that that has offended someone. So that's, you know, one of the weaknesses in this personality type for sure. So it kind of, they steamroll over people. They get a lot of things done very quickly. You give a lion a project and you give them a deadline, they thrive on deadlines. They thrive on these projects and, you know, getting this stuff done. But it's often done really badly. It's messy. There's a lot of crumbs everywhere. You know, there's scraps here, and sure, the project was done, but oh yeah, I forgot about spell check, and it was all one sentence. You know, it's like, it's almost that kind of thing. That's to an extreme, basically. But so lions are not detail oriented. That's one of the big weaknesses, because how, you know, important are details? We gotta get the project done. Project's done, excellent. It looks like crap, whatever. It's finished. And you guys all know people, you know, like this. Unless they have a subdominant personality type that actually kind of compensates for the lack of detail work and lack of accuracy. So if you have a specific combination of a lion and another personality type, they often get it done, and they get it done well, and they get it done detailed. And that's a really interesting combination. So that's your lion, right? You can all picture what this lion is like. Let's go on to the beaver personality type. Actually, no, a couple more things with lion. So to ingratiate yourself with a lion, in other words, to like just become a better friend with a lion, lions love praise. They love doing a job well done. They love doing it better than other people. They often have, you know, a strong ego, probably stronger than they should. And just talking about how well they've done their accomplishments or things like that, they're very achievement oriented. That's how you kind of buddy up with a lion. Like that's lion's best friend is usually the one that like notices how good he is and things like that. That's what they kind of strive on. But again, you got those weaknesses of not very detail oriented and can kind of charge over people. Second personality type. Now we've got the beaver personality type. So if you think beavers, think meticulous, think orderly, think builders. Your beavers are typically your accountants. Your beavers are your number crunchers. They love their spreadsheets. They love their detailed work. It's their favorite thing in the world, is to just keep things orderly, and they thrive off of it. They absolutely love it. It's not so much OCD as it is their ingrained personality type, which, you know, could also be categorized as it. But for entrepreneurship and things like that, 95% of all entrepreneurs are lions. Lions get out there and failures never killed them. You know, they try and they try and they try. They keep failing. They mess up. Well, they just keep going at it, and then they get it. And so 95% of entrepreneurs, those are lions. They go their own way. A beaver, though, loves a set of rules. They love to learn the procedure. They love systems. That is what they're all about. Right? So bus drivers beavers make great bus drivers, basically. You tell a beaver, you know, this is your bus route. I'm going to drive here specifically at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to wait here for 2 minutes. We're going to drive. The next stop is 0.7 miles away. We're going to wait there for 2 minutes. At this point, we're going to go to this spot. Beavers love that. They thrive off of it. You all know beavers. Many of you are beavers. All of that sort of thing. Beavers do not like deadlines, right? Give a beaver a project and say, this has to be done right now. Not now, but this has to be done in an hour. And they start thinking, oh man, okay, well, you know, I don't know if I'm going to get it done in an hour. I got to make sure I get it done. I got to make sure I get it right. They are accuracy driven, detail-oriented, accuracy-driven individuals. They don't thrive on deadlines. They thrive on systems, protocol, doing it right. If you give a rule book to a beaver, they read it, they love it. You give a rule book to a lion, they look at it and they say, what's this? It's a rule book? I could write my own rule book. This is how I want it done. Totally different. Totally different. Beavers generally are very sensitive individuals. If you criticize a beaver, they take it so personally because all they want is to be right. You know, they think that being right is the most important thing. In fact, they will let you know when you're wrong because they are genuinely trying to help you. If you say, oh man, that was crazy. That was like a 70-foot drop. And they say, oh, well, actually it's more like a, 35-foot drop. You know, most people, when they get corrected, they get offended. A beaver is not trying to offend you. They actually want to help you. And because they're so driven on accuracy and they're so driven on correctness, they will correct others out of respect for them because they would want to be corrected, even though if they are corrected, they feel bad, right? But they want to be right. And it's important for them to be right and just about everything. And they won't care how long it takes. If you got a beaver working on something like a quilt or whatever, and a beaver makes a mistake, they will just move on and they will start over. They will start another quilt. And this is the kind of personality that has 100 unfinished projects, but those things are perfect up until, they get that mistake. Very, very difficult for a beaver to complete something. It's a challenge for them. They want it to be right. They want it to be perfect. So they're very sensitive, but at the same time, they have those great strengths of they can work off procedure. Without beavers, we would have no modern engineering. We'd be falling off of every bridge, or skyscrapers would be falling out of the sky. Like they have excellent strengths, but they also have those driving weaknesses. Now, if you have the combination of a lion beaver, you get a lot of driving strengths that are great, and you get a lot of crippling weaknesses in this particular combination of personality types. But either way, we're not going to go over personality combinations yet. So let's go over the third type here. But so far, what do you guys think? Are you enjoying this?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. Good stuff. So as we move on, we got the third type here, which is an otter. So an otter is very similar to the animal. Just absolutely loves having fun. It's super playful, is real talkative, is fun to be around. Otters are they are the showmen and show women. They love to be in the spotlight. They're typically the class clown or actual comedians. Otters for sure like to just kind of be up there and then having a lot of excitement. Just like lions are good one-way communicators, otters are also really good one-way communicators. You can recognize these people pretty easily by how they're always going from one fun thing to the next fun thing. So, a otter, if you say, hey, man, I've got this party on Friday, it's 8 p.m., I'm really hoping I'm going to be there. You're going to get a response from an otter that's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, man, you got a party at 8? Dude, that is going to be so great. Oh, I cannot wait for this. This is going to be amazing. Thank you so much. And then 8 p.m. comes around on Friday and he's not there. Well, you see him the next day. You say, hey, dude, I just wondered, what was going on. I had the party at 8. And, the otter's like, oh, yeah, man, I'm so sorry. I was going to do that. But then there was this wet t-shirt concert and I had to go. It was the craziest thing. There were cheerleaders. They were watching the car. You should have been there, man. It was the most nuts thing. Because otter will go literally from one fun thing to the next. They're very bad with commitment, but they love the excitement, the fun. You can't give detailed work to an otter because how much fun is putting a whole bunch of things in order. You give that to a beaver, they thrive. You give it to an otter, most of the time that is not going to happen. Otters, though, are definitely people pleasers. They're not like lions so much as they'll take a project and they'll get it done and they'll just have their team ready to make sure that happens and they meet their deadlines. Otters, if you tell them, hey, this has to be done, the otter will be like, oh yeah, absolutely, no problem. Yeah. Oh, I got you, man. I got you. You can count on me. You're fine. And then you can't count on them, because they're very bad at that sort of thing. It's a personality weakness, and they have to work on it. They have to be aware of it in order to counter it, And by being aware of the personality type that you have and your natural weaknesses, you can recognize them, you can fight them, because you're going to have these inclinations towards one thing or another as life circumstances happen and as you see other people with these personality types. So Naruto, exactly. Naruto would definitely be an otter, no doubt about that. It's a good example there. But yeah, otter loves to be, right in the middle of the crowds, of the hype, things like that. But not as easy to count on as others. Otters also, interestingly enough, are much more likely to lie than the other personality types. So the otter will lie more than the other 3 personality types combined, almost. It's really crazy. Just because they don't see white lies as hurting anybody, they're smiling, everybody else is smiling. It doesn't really matter what the details are. They want everybody to have a good time, so they'll glance over it. They aren't good with confrontation. So an otter, being is kind of usually upbeat and emotional, will absorb kind of the emotion of the room, of the atmosphere. So if there's a fight in a room, an otter will go around the room. They will not even want to be around that sort of thing. The emotions almost like feel heavy to them in the air. It just it's very absorbed. They're very passionate, very emotional people. And we all know a lot of otters, but we also love a lot of otters because they're so much fun. Otters are great to hang out with all the time, but they have their strengths and weaknesses. Back an otter into a corner and you're absolutely going to get a fight out of them. This isn't a personality that really backs down a lot. Even if they're wrong, they'll just kind of grin, or they'll just kind of like grit in there and bear it, and they'll kind of lash out. So I had to work for an otter at one point, and I ended up going down to see an ex-girlfriend in North Carolina, and I flew down there at one point, and I said, hey man, I want to make absolutely sure that whenever you need me, I'm going to be ready. So I don't have a flight back. I will get a flight back at any time the day of. I don't know if we're going to be meeting on Wednesday or Thursday. You just tell me and we're going to make this happen. This will be fine. And he was like, oh yeah, no problem. I'll let you know. No worries. 2 days later, I get a call from my regional director saying, so I found out that you flew to North Carolina and you don't know when you're going to be coming back and you're just going to be down there as long as you feel like. And I'm like, what is happening? What are you talking about? These otters are usually really easy to deal with as a face, but typically gossipers, that particular one, basically just backstabbed me there for no reason. So it's just one of the inclinations that a lot of otters can suffer with. They want to be people pleasers, they're yes men, but at the same time not always 100% with the follow through. So now we have our fourth category. So our fourth category is the golden retriever. Okay. Golden retriever is everybody's best friend. Where the other personality types are, where the lion and the otter are good one-way communicators, like to be in the spotlight, handle that sort of thing. Really good, direct, one way. The golden retriever is the only personality type that is a good two-way communicator. This person really wants to listen. They absolutely want to hear about your day. They want to hear about what you're going through. They are everybody's best friend. These are just generally the nicest people around. These people you can count on. When a golden retriever says he's going to do something or she's going to be there, they are there. The world can be on fire and they are there because they are there for you, and their connection with you and their relationship to other people is the most important thing. There's nothing more important, Hey, they might miss a deadline. Yeah, they might not be super accurate. No, they're not going to be telling jokes in front of a crowd, but they want to hear what's going on with you. These are gentle, very emotional, strong connection people. Downside, actually, this is the only personality where their weakness doesn't hurt other people. Their weakness hurts themselves. So this is the type of personality where they will overcommit. If somebody needs a hand, well, they're going to take on that burden. They're going to be there for that person. They're going to be there. They're going to be shouldering that burden, and it might be crushing this golden retriever, but they're still going to just keep on doing it, and they're going to suffer in silence through this. And so we would have to look out for our golden retriever friends and our golden retriever family members and people we're in a relationship with, because they will often not see that their weakness is actually them just taking on too much until they literally just get completely crushed by it. But again, golden retriever, everybody's best friend. They don't really like to be in the spotlight. That's not at all their thing. If you have a classroom with people, you're going to get the otter over there telling jokes or falling off the stool in front of people and, making everybody laugh. And you're going to get the beaver that's kind of maybe off on his own, just kind of by himself. And he's going to be, sculpting the clay and making sure that it's perfect. It's about a third of the way done, but it's absolutely perfect. And then, you got a lion that's, he's finished the project 10 minutes early, but it looks like crap. You basically could have stepped on it and that would have been the project. So that's your lion. You got the golden retriever who's just sitting there laughing and say, yeah, oh man, you're so funny. Wow, you're so good at telling these jokes. That's really cool. And he's saying, yeah, he's encouraging the otter to get the spotlight, because the golden retriever doesn't want it. Golden retriever doesn't want leadership. Golden retriever doesn't want to be in the spotlight, but they are there for you, and they are loyal teammates, loyal friends, loyal in relationships. And like I said, everybody's best friend. A big weakness here of golden retriever is indecision. You see them basically saying, I don't know what I want to eat. What do you want to eat? Heaven forbid you get two golden retrievers. Well, wherever you want to eat, honey, it's fine. Oh, I don't care where we eat. Oh, you picked last time. It's okay. You could. And the lion's sitting there like, I'll pick. I don't care. Let's just eat tacos. Whatever. Let's go. Let's do this. So the golden retrievers have a crippling disability in terms of making decisions. Very, very bad. They don't stick to anything. They flip-flop through careers, flip-flop through jobs. You often see this personality type have a million different mains, if we're talking about Black Desert, things like this. So, each personality type has strengths and has weaknesses, and we each have a main dominant one and a subdominant personality type. So that right there is the majority of what I wanted to say. We'll pause there and just want to hear from you guys. Do you think from what I've said so far you can identify your personality types? Is there maybe anybody that in your life that you're like, oh crap, that's the personality type that they are? That spells them out exactly. So are you able to picture this stuff?
I have a theory that you're a combination of lion and golden retriever.
Agreed. Yep.
Are we right on that one?
Actually, no. Believe it or not.
I'd say Blade is more of 3. The first 2 and the last one.
I've got 2. I can tell you what mine is. So I'm a real high lion and real high beaver. They're almost identically extremely high.
I've done
That's
this test
interesting.
before in high school. We did it for a psychology class of mine, and we did this test, and that's what I got as well. I got lion and beaver.
Oh man, we've got
Really
some
high
pretty
on
big
that.
weaknesses, but we have some decent strengths as well.
I'd
So-
say I'm probably similar. My 2 strongest would be lion, beaver, but I also see a bit of otter in there too.
Yeah, you got a lot of otter in you there, Skull, for sure.
Well,
And there's the
also-
beaver as well.
I would say there's definitely all 3. I don't really.
We all have
talk
all
a lot
4.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, we all have all 4, really. So cool. Okay, so you guys can picture this, though. It's starting to make some sense. Hopefully. Cool. So, yeah, let's see. With the lion beaver, so my big weakness is actually golden retriever, which is interesting that you would say that that would be a main personality trait for me. It's not. It's an afterthought by far. So throughout sales, basically having a real high lion personality means, I want the job. I'm going to lead this team, and this is the way it's going to get done. Now, if you have a beaver personality as well, they're also kind of a perfectionist. So this is this is the worst boss to ever work for, because they want it done their way, and their way has to be perfect. So they have impossible standards, and they expect everybody to make those, unless they learn their own personality weaknesses, and then they can compensate for it, which is what I've had to do significantly. So it's a strained effort to be a listener. That doesn't work well for me. If I start hearing, kind of droning on, lions want to get to the point. They want to solve a problem. You bring a problem to a lion doesn't want to sit there listening to it. They want to get to the solution as fast as they can so they can get to the next thing. A golden retriever just wants to hear it, just wants to listen. They don't have any problem to solve. They just want to, be the shoulder to cry on or to hear and things like that. So totally different ways of receiving and giving communication. So for me, I really had to learn for sure. I'm like, all right, need to relate to people a lot more. I can't run over people with my desire to do these certain things. And unless I'm really attuned to it, I'll absolutely flub this up and make big mistakes. And even in guild leading here in Black Desert, that's happened. In 2016 especially, I realized an opportunity for the guild where no guilds were strong enough to get extra large missions in Valencia. So I basically cast the vision, cast the goal, and said, all right, Exceptional Legion, we are going to do 5 extra large missions every day forever, because no guild can do this. And if we do it now, we'll be ahead of everybody. So I was there, super focused, tunnel vision on my project. Sometimes I was awake and streaming 28 hours, but it didn't even occur to me that this would drive everybody else crazy, right? And so I ended up driving a lot of negativity through the guild in 2016 by doing that, not really considering other people's feelings, just saying mission, 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 because burnout wasn't really a thing, right? For me, it was just like forward vision. This is the goal. We're doing it. And of course, because of the beaver personality type, it couldn't have been like, oh, let's try to get 2 or 3 missions out. No, we're getting 5 every single day, extra large always, and there's no end in sight. And that ran over a lot of people and was a huge mistake in leadership. And unless I'm completely aware of the weaknesses, then they flare up, because that's how all of our personality types are. So you gotta identify your personality type. You gotta understand what your own weaknesses are. So I appreciate you guys thinking that there's golden retriever in me, because that's the one I'm always working on. Like, that's my weakness, and I'm not good at it, but it's one that I've been trying to get better at for years now. All right, good stuff. Do you guys want to go over what personality types you think you are?
Well, I definitely think that, you're right, otter, beaver. The thing is, I think when I was younger, I was definitely more lion, but and I would always try to strive for leadership roles and authority. But then I got into several situations where I had that authority, and I realized I wasn't a good leader, and in the sense that I could only handle a certain amount of data input at once, and then once that threshold was breached, I like my leadership skills just fell out the window because I couldn't make a decision with too much data coming at me at once. And then once I realized that, I started taking more of a back seat whenever leadership roles came up. So it's kind of an interesting shift there.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So I was curious, when it comes to these personality types, if your life experiences ever change what type of person you are over time, or if you're, like in this instance of the otter, the thing that I was thinking about is, like you said, I typically try to avoid confrontation, but when put into a certain situation, that otter will be extremely fierce. Like if you back them into a corner, they will come at, and that's very much how I would react too. And it almost comes down to that in a leadership role, where if no one else is taking charge, that's when I will step up and try to, if I feel like I can do it, I will do it,
Right. So Stephen Scott says that you're born with your personality, you die with your personality. It does not change. And what that means is it's your natural inclinations to act a certain way. And you recognize what your inclinations are, and then you decide whether or not you're going to do that or do something else, and what your response is through your experience and through living. So that's what he says. I'm more of the school of thought where it can change, kind of like the Zig Ziglar approach, that you're not stuck with you. Basically, if you change the input, you can change the output. My parents tell this story all the time, where I was 2 years old and my mom wanted me to do something and I didn't want to do it, and she kept telling me, you have to do this, and I'm 2 years old. And I'm saying, why? And she said, because mommy is boss. And apparently 2-year-old Blade put his hands on his hips and said, someday soon me be boss. So that's a 2-year-old initial inclination. That's a weird thing, quite honestly. Kind of freaks me out thinking about it. And I think the personality is definitely something that you're born with, that you just have as this natural inclination towards one thing or another. But I definitely think through learned behavior and through experiences that you can absolutely tweak it to the point where it's like a completely cultured, almost masked, different way of thinking and acting in different experiences.
It kind of harkens to Stephen Covey's whole chapter on proactivity, where you get to choose how you respond to something, and you get to choose your mindset about something, and through that you can change yourself and change how you think about things.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting for sure.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
How do you figure out what personality type you are?
Oh, you're a golden retriever beaver.
What? Okay, thanks.
So let's see. There is a test somewhere. To be honest, if you look up the 15 master strategies of super achievers, there is a test that you can take. I think you have to spend money on it, but I can identify most of you.
Okay.
And does that make sense, Hazard?
Definitely not a lion, Blade. You're definitely not a
What
lion.
am I?
Oh, Rumi? You are an otter golden retriever. I think
like I said, I've done this test before, but I'm curious to know what you think. My personality as well.
Jill, I'm sad to say this, but I don't know you quite well enough yet, like I know everybody else, to identify that much. But yeah, lion beaver, cool, man. We got a lot of driving strengths, we got a lot of driving weaknesses, so you gotta be on it for sure. But this is the only combination where basically, if lions are project oriented and things like that, they also have the subdominant beaver, where they can kind of cover for their own mistakes and inaccuracy. And there's infinite combinations. You got high beaver, low golden retriever. You got high golden retriever, low beaver. That would be Corrosion Riaz, if you guys know him. Golden retriever loves to listen. He's a great. He's my best friend. I've known him over 10 years, and he is just a great dude. He's super compassionate. That's another thing with golden retrievers. They're actually quick to take on the hurts of others, because it's like how dare you hurt my friend? You know, it's like, how could you do that? So they're typically they'll hang on to grudges a little bit longer than other personality types, because it really means a lot to them if their friends and family are being mistreated by others. And then, you know, he's got the beaver side of it, where high accuracy, but he's also been in leadership roles where he's, you know, learned how to do that. I think we can all identify Hikari as an otter. I think we can all identify Lady Gazelle as an otter. I think we can identify Anime as a golden retriever. You know, as you get to know people, you can absolutely see where they kind of fit. And I think even today, Anime, you know, sent me a message. It's like, hey, how you doing? Just want to make sure you're doing well. How's your day? She loves to listen. Great friend, right? Golden retriever is everybody's best friend. So really good people to know. Very sensitive. Where lions will typically almost like ignore that message because everything's fine and they have to go off to their next project. They're not being mean, but there's this miscommunication between the personality types. So my aim is, by sharing this with you guys, is that you understand how different everybody thinks, and how what one personality would basically take a major thing as an offense, another personality would do that just as a simple course of action. You know, if a lion is corrected by a beaver's trying to help, a lion is pissed. He does not want to be corrected. He's got his way, he's doing it. Like, that's his thing. And, you know, a lion usually makes decisions with very little input. Assesses the situation, all right, this is what we're doing. Doesn't really like a lot of counsel. A beaver needs some time. Needs to get back, needs to think it over, maybe writes a list, talks to a couple people, all of these sort of things. So if a beaver is explaining something to a lion, a beaver feels like he's doing a good job giving all the details. A lion will almost always shut him down, just say, all right, get to the point. Like, get to the point where I can make a decision. And the lion isn't being rude, and the beaver isn't being rude, but they give and receive communication totally differently. So this, once it's understood, just lets you be way, way, way more tolerant in dealing with other people.
That's the part that the way you described the lion right there, that's how I am when I'm doing work. I'm
right.
Very lion-like when I'm dealing with work, because, like you said, I'm very deadline-oriented when it comes to that. Details, I often do kind of blow off little details, but the project will get done. At the same time, sometimes the beaver traits will come out, and I'll be super meticulous and trying to be perfectionist on something, and I do have so say outside of work, when I'm not trying to get deadline done, I have 50 different projects that are half done, but perfectly half done. But when it comes to work, I will bulldog through that and get that deadline no matter what. Like, you do 24-hour streams or really long obscene streams, I'll do that for work and kind of shut out everything else. The project comes first. So that's kind of an interesting thing there. That's why, like, I see a lot of the otter, I see a lot of the beaver, but I also see the lion when it comes to work, and so it confuses me.
Well, I think, remember, there are some flat lines and there's infinite varieties. So I think you probably just have, you know, three, not necessarily dominant, but a lot of points in those three, and even golden retriever is still kind of up there. Like, for me, I have 2 really high ones and then 2 really low ones. Like with otter, going to the next fun thing, I'll grind for 10,000 hours if I'm bored as hell. I'll be like, nope, this is my mission, I'm doing this. I don't care how fun it is. Well, you know, that's definitely not a normal thing for people with higher otter in them. So I think you have a lot of those 3 personality types, like you said.
Okay, yeah, definitely. That makes sense. That makes more sense when you say that we all have a little bit of all 4.
Yeah, all 4 is a range, pretty much.
The more I think about it, it kind of scares me. I think Blade's right about me, and yeah, it's kind of freaking me out.
It's all right, man. This is a great, you know, enlightening moment, really, when you can identify your strengths and your weaknesses, you know, and the overlapping weakness of the golden retriever beaver is that they have a lot of problems making final decisions. Basically, they like being told what to do. They like their systems, and if it's like, all right, today, what is your career, or where's our vacation gonna be, they're immediately like, oh no, I don't want to make that decision, don't put me in charge.
Oh man.
Yep, that's me.
There you go. And that's a good thing to know about yourself. So you have to basically realize you're bad at making decisions, and you have to get better at it.
Yep.
by doing it.
Yep.
And it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for all of us. Absolutely. You know, when I was doing sales team leading, I saw a problem. I wanted to be like, you can never do this again. This was a huge mistake. Stop that. And I wouldn't be upset at all. And I wouldn't feel anything like this could be my great friend, but I would tell him that directly to make sure that never happens again. However, that's not really a good way to communicate. You know, that's my natural inclination. And I had to learn over the years. I would go up and be like, hey man, I noticed, you know, you did a really good job handling that crowd situation when you had that problem. In fact, what I used to do is I would make this same mistake all the time. And I noticed you doing it. It's not a big deal in the future if you end up changing it just a little bit. I'd appreciate that a lot. But again, dude, you've done a great job. Didn't take a break in several hours. And we're killing it this week. Nice job. So that's the same correction, but it's done in a totally different way. The first one is how I would like to do it. And I wouldn't be mad at all saying, all right, stop. You did this. You can never do this again. The second way I have to basically use is learned behavior so that people receive it without being insulted. And that's, you know, one of the weaknesses I have to overcome. We all have it. It's pretty uncomfortable to try to figure out how to beat the weaknesses, but it'll make you so much better off when you do. All right, well, that's it, my friends. That's what I wanted to share with you guys.
Thanks, Blade.
Pretty good week.
No problem.
Thanks.
Need more Blade story time.
Yeah, thank you. I think
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
You're welcome, Ed. And Demoted, are you Clockwork and Twitch, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You deal with the general public. What do you do?
Not the well, I'm a chiropractor, so
Okay.
I deal in the healthcare field.
I'm a massage therapist.
Ah, perfect.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's pretty tough. So you'll be able to kind of identify personality types a lot faster. And when you do that, you'll be able to relate with them a little bit better, right? Not in the sense of manipulating it all, but if somebody comes up and they're just really super abrupt, they interrupt you, they get to the point, you know, that's probably a lion, right? So they don't want to hear a lot of details. They probably don't want a lot of extra random conversation. They want to know what this is, and they want to get to it, and they want to get to their next thing. Versus somebody else comes up and they notice a picture and they start talking about it. And they're like, oh, wow, did you get a chance to go there? You know, that's probably a golden retriever who really values connection. And the best way to deal with that customer or that individual is to build a connection and then ask questions back. Where if you're asking that to a lion, they don't even care. They don't know why you're talking to them. And they just want to go on to the next thing. And an otter, you know, might come in, make a joke. Well, you know, if you don't find it at all funny, the otter is immediately like, I hate this person. Who is this? Why would they not want to have a better time? We could be laughing or we could be sullen, and the otter will just be quick to shut down and never come back.
Actually, what's interesting is I probably would have quit the game a long time ago had I not seen your Bum to Billionaire series. That's what helped I tie together the whole node network and helped me get into life skills and actually see more sides of the game.
Oh, that's cool, man. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh, I'm glad. Alrighty, well, good stuff.
We're all so quiet.
Do you guys want to do like a guild RBF or something?